second against UCF. Coach, thank you so much for joining us on the call today. If you would take a minute to tie up the game against UNLV and then tell us your plans for the open week as you get ready for the conference opener against UCF on the second, please.
Well, it was good to play another home game and get back on track in terms of correcting some mistakes that we had made in the first couple games. I think we've certainly seen improvement without question from game 1 to game 4, but I think from 1 to 2 to 2 to 3 and from 3 to 4 in a number of areas in really all three phases, offense, defense, and special teams. So we started off a little bit slow against UNLV, but I really liked the way we handled halftime and came out, got a good play on special teams to kickoff return to start the second half to midfield, and then 2 plays later we score a touchdown, and then we come out on defense in the first series in the second half, and after going the first 30 minutes without creating a turnover, we get one in that series, which leads to a touchdown on the next offensive series, and we got 3 in the second half defensively, and did not turn it over offensively in the second half. So, again, proud of our young men in their effort, and in coming out in the second half and really executing well in all three phases. So this week we had meetings and conditioning yesterday evening. Our young men are going to class in study hall today. They're basically off from like we have in a normal week on Mondays, and then we're going to practice Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Give them Friday and Saturday off from football, and our staff is going to go on the road recruiting this Friday.
We'll take questions for Coach Tony Levine. Please *1 on your telephone to join the queue. The operator will introduce you.
We'll take our first question from Dan Tortora with Dan Tortora Broadcast Media.
Hi, Coach. How are you doing today?
Great, Dan. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for asking. I wanted to, going into this bye week, I know you just described it a little bit, but what are you looking for the most out of your players right now when you have this break? What is it really going to be when you look at some of those key areas you want to get right for the rest of the season? Where are those areas right now?
Right, well, and that's it's a good point, a good question you ask. What we talked about in our team meeting yesterday was this is not a off week. This is not an off week. This is a work week. So, we've got still some things we need to improve on in all three phases. We were really close on a couple of things in the kicking game that if we can correct one little thing, instead of being a 50-yard kickoff return, it's a 90-yard kickoff return. There's still some things in the run game offensively that we've got to improve on, and defensively, just cleaning up some little things in terms of tackling, and still working on creating turnovers. A bye week really allows you, for us at least, with the 3 practices we're going to have this week, to go back to kind of how you started training camp in August and re-establish some things in terms of techniques and fundamentals. You watch the film and anything in terms of maybe angles and tackling, or some specific techniques on some individual special teams units where you might feel like you're a little bit, I don't know if sloppy is a good word, but you almost need to review the fundamentals at this point. I think it comes at a good time. So that's what we talked to them about yesterday in the team meeting. That's what this week will be. Not as much. We may our next opponent is Central Florida. We may put some things in already in terms of installation for our game plan, but as much as anything, it'll be more about us this week and our improvement.
And then as far as some of the guys on the offense, I know you talked about the running game and looking to clean some things up there and work on that a little bit with Farrow and Jackson and some of the other guys. They both scored more than one time this season. What are some of the areas that you want to work on with them and with the rest of the running game, knowing that they've had some success, but yet there's still some things you want to work on?
Well, a number of things, and one that comes to mind as you ask that question is our ball security. we didn't fumble the ball in this last game, but that doesn't mean our how we held the ball was how it needs to be either. So, that's probably at the top of the list, something we talked about as a staff yesterday and something we talked to our student athletes about as well. I think we did see improvement. When you talk about the run game, I saw we saw vast improvement with our receivers blocking downfield, and which is why in the first 3 games we had some runs go for 8 or 10 yards, but in this game we had multiple runs over 40 and 50 yards, and it was because our receivers were doing a much better job finishing downfield, and I thought we saw it as well with our offensive line. So, again, just it's pointing out some things on video from this last game in a positive manner, but things that we still have to get more consistent on and do every week.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
We'll take our next question from Shannon Owens-Green with the Orlando Sentinel.
Hi, Coach. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. I just wanted to know some of your early thoughts on UCF and what are some areas that concern you regarding UCF defense.
Well, Shannon, I'm going to say this: early is the proper word because we've been watching them all morning now, and I've got their depth chart in front of me because I figured I'd get a couple questions on it. But the one thing traditionally about UCF and Coach O'Leary coached teams is they are extremely well coached, and they are a very, very physical football team, and that's again in all 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams. So, you use the word concern when you ask me the question. It's not a word I use often. I mean, they're a very well coached team. They don't. I've heard this phrase before. More football games are lost than are won. And Coach O'Leary's teams rarely, if ever, lose a game. You got to go out and execute. You got to be disciplined. So that's going to be a big emphasis for us in terms of making sure our young men understand certainly what we're going to do, but what to expect from Central Florida in all 3 phases. And again, we got to do a great job taking care of the football. We got to do a great job when it comes to penalties. So they rarely turn the ball over. They're rarely penalized. So again, what we talk about in our program, Shannon, quite often is it's about us and how we execute. But again, I know having been here now my 7th season overall and played them just about every year, we certainly understand what kind of team and what kind of program they are.
Speaking of penalties, one of their top offensive players, Rennell Hall, a senior receiver for them, is going to possibly not be playing that first half because he got a targeting penalty in the last game. How much are you guys sort of paying attention to that, and what kind of advantage could it possibly give you if Rennell Hall is out of that first half?
Well, he's certainly a talented student athlete, but they've got they're not a one-man show, and they haven't been. They've got great talent at all skill positions, receiver and running back, and even tight end for them offensively. So it's not they spread the ball around quite a bit. They certainly got a great running game as well. So again, I know Rennell from playing against them the last couple of years. A very talented veteran receiver for them, but again, they've got great depth there, and it's certainly unfortunate. You don't ever want anyone to have to miss any time, but they've got very talented young men on that side of the football.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.